righty. Good evening, everybody. I call this Monday, June 26, 2023 meeting of the Lake Havasu City Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to order. If you could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, next item, roll call.
Sherry Butler.
Here.
Kyler Cox.
Here.
Shannon Murray is excused. Ashley Pasquale. Here. Alex Ross.
Here.
Philip Shannon.
Here.
Todd Taylor. Alexis Wolf.
Here.
Natalie Strader is excused. And Council Member Vice Mayor David Lane.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we move on to the call to the public, I do want to take a second to recognize a couple of our board members that are actually going to be leaving us. Alexis Wolf, Todd Taylor, and Natalie Strader are not going for another term. So I just wanted to make a point to thank you guys. Sometimes it's an unthankful job up here where people don't understand that we're up here for free. We're volunteering our time, and it totally means a lot. And again, big steps to this community. So thank you. We appreciate you guys. With that being said, we do have some new appointees that we're going to see at next month's meeting. So that'll be exciting. All righty. The next item will be the call to the public. We will now have an open call to the public for citizens wishing to address the board on issues within the jurisdiction of the board. Your comments must be limited to 3 minutes or less. If you wish to address an item already on today's agenda, you should wait until that item is announced for a public hearing. At the conclusion of the open call to the public, individual members of the board may respond to criticism made by those who address the board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. However, board members cannot discuss or take legal actions on matters not already on today's agenda. So with that being said, obviously there's quite a few people in the room here today. If you are here for a specific item, again, their items are listed on the agenda. I would encourage you to wait till that item comes up so we can actually discuss that item with you. So with that being said, would anybody like to address the board at the call to the public? Going once? Going twice? All right. Know why everybody's here. We will move on to the meeting minutes. Item 5.1, approval of the May 22nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Looking for a motion.
I move to approve.
Okay, I have a motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second.
And a second. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty. We'll move on to item 6.1, staff report. Director Keene?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Summer camp continues through July 20th. The aquatic staff is working with the recreation staff on adventure camp and will finish this week, June 29th. They've been doing activities such as sailing, kayaking, and paddleboarding down at the lake. We offered our first community-sponsored open swim, and a big thank you to Carport Queen. And then our second one was held by Horizon Pools. They offered the first 100 free guest open swim on Sunday, June 25th. Session 2 of swim lessons will be completed on June 29th. We will break for the 4th of July, and session 3 and 4 will be held the following week. We'll be offering a free summer art program in July. This is in coordination with Kiwanis, so we want to thank them for their donation and time. We'll be doing 14 separate art projects and will be offered to kids ages 6 and up. That information will be out on Facebook as well as our city website within the next few days. You'll be able to register online or at the Aquatic Center. And it is a free program. Thank you to Abundant Grace for sponsoring a free open swim to the community on Sunday, July 2nd from noon to 4 p.m. A reminder, the pool will be closed on Tuesday, July 4th in honor of Independence Day. Special Olympics has reserved the pool on Saturday mornings for the month of July. Thank you goes out to Lynn China for sponsoring a free open swim to the community on Sunday, July 16th from noon to 4 p.m. The Summer Swim League end of session swim meet will be held on July 14th. the Junior Lifeguard Olympics, which is kind of a celebration and an opportunity for all the parents of our junior guards to see them in action, will be held on July 21st. The Havasu Stingray swim team will be hosting a swim meet on July 22nd. A thank you goes out to the Elks Club for sponsoring a free open swim to the community on Saturday, July 29th from noon to 4 p.m. All those free open swims that I mentioned are offered to the first 400 guests. In the community center, the Arizona Collectible Firearms Gun Show will be held July 8th and 9th. Vitalent Blood Drive will be held July 11th through the 13th. Veterans Treatment Court Family Day on July 15th. Eastern Star Bunko, July 17th. Habitat Bunko Fundraiser will be held on July 26th. And the Havasu Community Health Foundation Back to School Fair will be held on July 29th. A reminder that fireworks will begin on the 4th of July over the lake, approximately 9 p.m. That concludes my report. With that, I'll take any questions.
Great, thank you. Anybody on the board have any questions for the director? Comments, concerns? All righty. I just want to take the opportunity to thank the businesses that are sponsoring the free swim days at the Aquatic Center. Carport Queen, Horizon Pools, Abundance Grace, Lynn's Little China, and Elks Club. Again, that's a huge thing. That's what we love seeing about this community is businesses like that step up to make something like that possible. We have a great community center and a great aquatic center, so it's awesome to see that potentially 400 guests for each one is going to be able to get in free. So good things for sure. Anybody else? All righty. So we will move on to our public hearings. With that being said, I'm going to move item 7.3, our discussion about the new pool up, so we can get that moving since it looks like there's a lot of people here that want to talk about it. So we will start with item 7.3, discussion of the new pool. Director Keene.
Thank you. So this item was requested by the board after many residents showed up at our May Park and Recreation Advisory Board meeting during a call to the public to discuss the need for an additional pool at the Aquatic Center. Pool scheduling is always a difficult thing, especially when you only have one body of water. I agree with the statements that were made at last month's meeting. The design of our facility does make certain activities very difficult in the realm of how high the walls are. It also, at times for exercise classes, we have to have the bulkhead down as for ease to transport individuals into the class, and they try to get down to that deeper water. But we can't have lap swim as well because the bulkhead needs to be down. So it does make for some complications. It also makes it for a very exciting pool in the fact that we do have that flexibility as well as the waves themselves make that pool what it is. There is room on the outside to build a 6-lane, 25-yard competition pool. We have reached out preliminary, very, very preliminary. I want to reiterate that point to a company that builds commercial pools and just kind of asked them what was the going rate for something like this as far as that included starting blocks, backstroke flags, lane lines, heater, that type of full-blown turnkey. What would it be? So again, very, very preliminary. Came in at approximately $2 million to build a facility like 6-lane, 25-yard competition pool. So, this would be something that would be considered a CIP project in a future year. Council at the last council meeting did approve the next 5-year CIP. With that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean items other than what were approved in the fiscal year 23-24 budget are guaranteed that funding. So there is sometimes movement in that CIP budget, especially when we can find outside funding for projects. So if we were able to find some outside funding for this project, the likelihood it moves up in years and discussion in the CIP meetings would be very strong. So again, that CIP process really starts in about the month of September. So we will have our ducks in a row there as far as the possibility of presenting that project as part of that package. Again, and then it goes through a review, a bit of a review there, as well as kind of priority throughout where it will be placed. So that kind of concludes my report. Again, not part of next year's budget. It would go into a future year CIP.
Great, thank you. Any questions, comments from the board before we open it up to the public? Okay, alrighty. This is a public hearing. We will open this up to members from the public that would like to address the board in reference to this item. If you would like to address the board, go ahead and step up to the podium. If you could please say your name for the record and just again be respectful of everybody's time, since it looks like there is quite a few of you. Anybody? Come on up.
Hi, Mayor and council members. I guess Mayor's not here. My name is Nicole Brown. My son has been on the Havasu Stingray swim team for 7 years. Each month we travel to swim meets. We drive to Phoenix, Las Vegas, Scottsdale, Tucson, and many more, which is about 600 miles round trip. The expenses are hotel, food, swim meet fees, and gas. Just think of the revenue that we could bring to Lake Havasu if we were able to host more swim meets locally. In addition to having an outdoor public swimming pool, it would improve community bonds, give something for teenagers to do on the weekends and summers rather than something unhealthy. It'll add to our community's recreational and property values as people want to live near something fun to do. It will encourage fitness for the whole family to enjoy for those who have their own backyard pool. Learning how to swim can be a lifesaver, especially in this town with the pools and lake. It would give children an opportunity for more swimming lessons as the current aquatic center fills up quickly with their lessons, leaving some not being able to have the chance to take lessons. Private swimming lessons is too expensive for some families. Opening up an outdoor swimming pool will create more jobs for adults and teenagers, and it is important to an introduction to the world of athletics. My husband, Mike Brown, who owns Aquatic Services of Mojave County, he is a swimming pool contractor. He would like to present a draft of what an outdoor facility would look like. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
I don't know if can we put pictures up on anything or pass them around?
If
For
you
this
have
video
copies,
copy? Okay.
And then, as we get done, if you just pass them back, and if I could keep these, that'd be great.
It's a swimming pool in Oro Valley, Tucson.
sure, go ahead.
Is this pool, sorry, I don't know if my mic's working. Is this pool the size that Mr. Keene stated earlier, the 625 yards?
A little larger.
Okay, thanks.
It has a diving, so you can have a dive team as well.
Thank you.
And water polo, but you could do that in any pool size almost.
Do you know how much it costs to build this?
I would say roughly 4 to 5
Okay.
million.
Any other questions for the speaker?
Thank you.
No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Hi, I am Jennifer Blair. When people think about swimming pools, they often think about kids just jumping in and playing. What we want is swimming means so much more to our community, including all the people here you see here today, I'm sure. As a former swimmer, diver, lifeguard, and swim instructor, I've seen the depth and meaning of what swimming has done for hundreds of people throughout my life. Now, as the president, I'm able to see how the Havasu Stingrays has affected my children, and the team building, confidence, athleticism that it's built in them. They're 10 and 14 years old. They're here today. They've just made their first regionals qualifying. So they plan on doing this for the rest of their lives. Sports are so important in the development of our youth. Currently in the aquatics, we offer a very narrow window of what's available in aquatic sports. Expansion of the program and the current facility would mean opening new doors for the youth and the community. The University of Arizona offers competitive swimming. They also offer diving, water polo, and synchronized swimming, just to name a few. Those are not offered at our facility currently and are not able to be offered due to the facility, the nature of the facility. Expanding the current aquatic center, to meet the growing needs of our population, including our youth, adults, seniors, is important to the health of our community as well. As a nurse in your community, the leading cause of death nationwide is heart disease. The CDC states that at 2.5 hours of swimming per week, you can reduce the incidence of heart disease and even backtrack and make the heart disease better, as well as diabetes. So offering new programs or expanding the programs that we have to our seniors would help our health community as well. And as we know, we only are limited to one hospital here. So the Parks and Recs really is the first line to getting our community healthier. Improving the physical health is important, but it also has proven to improve mental health as well, and decreasing depression and anxiety. As a community, it's important that we feed these programs and expand our aquatic center to reach more individuals and improve the overall health. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Did you say you were the president of Havasu Stingrays? I am. I have a couple questions for you. Sorry about that.
Hi.
Everybody's anxious. I like it. So how large is your organization as far as how many members, parents, things like that? Can you give us a little background on that?
Yeah, currently we have 52 members of the team. That's youth under 18. Parents are very involved. We do a lot of fundraisers, community events. We just did our lake swim. Thank you, City, for allowing us to do that. So we are very involved. We could expand the program more. However, we don't have the space to do that. We're thinking of ways, and we've discussed with the Parks and Recreation Department, ways to include more youth in that program by introducing new programs that are 45 minutes, 2 days a week, to people who are not interested necessarily in community or competitive swimming. So we would have more like an intramural sports team, which would help us expand the program. But we only see that expanding to about 120 individuals. With a new pool, we could expand that well over that. Given more time in the facility, we could make some real improvements here in the community.
So 52 members are you saying you're kind of at your max with the facilities that are offered at this point?
We're about 60 is our max with our current programming and the operations that we currently offer. However, we're looking at ways to expand that. We've asked for a little bit more pool time in the late evening to help with that. But that's late evening, so we're looking at little kids that go to bed at 8 o'clock. It's all we can offer them.
And then what's your youngest age that you have?
5.
Is that like where you start at, or is that just your youngest right now?
That's what we start at.
So 5 to 18?
5 to 18.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, and then is it broken up into different like age divisions, or is it all kind of one umbrella?
They're actually grouped based on their ability to swim. And so we start at pre-stingrays and we go bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Our platinum are our elite swimmers. But our youngest are swimming the length of the pool and back almost instantly. So.
Wow. Okay, and then how often do you guys utilize the aquatic center now as far as, when you use it on the daily basis, like how often do you use it per week? And then how often are you using it per each or during that day itself?
We do 2.5 hours. We have 2.5 hours of pool time 5 days a week right now. It does get canceled during the spring season because of other aquatics programs. So we get canceled about twice a month on those days. But we are able to, we were at 2 hours and we've expanded to 2.5, and we hope to expand to about 3.
So is that 2.5 hours per day?
Per day.
And how many days a week?
5.
5 days a week?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome. Holy cow. I was tired just watching them do the lake swim, so.
We were too.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I had for you. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, sir.
The reasons that are cited, the pool was built in the first place. And when we were a community of about a third of the size we are today, we had to appeal to the largest amount of uses. So that's why you've ended up with the facility that you have. In terms of an outdoor pool, would you say that the number one priority would be lap swim?
The number one priority in this community is lap swim.
Number 2 would be if you could get water polo. You'd need more depth.
Water polo, yes.
You'd need 8 feet.
I believe it's 8 feet.
And then if you go to a diving pool, you
12.
need at least 12.
Yeah.
So in terms of the priorities and cost, my feeling is your first priority being lap swim, that's going to be your lowest entry cost level. What would be the depth that you would need for lap swimming? 4 feet?
I believe 4 feet at the shallow end is what's required by USA Swimming,
So
but
that
I'd have to check that data.
So that cuts the cost, cuts the maintenance, does a lot of things, and facilitates the biggest demand, lap swimming. Then if, as a Parks Board, we were to explore further in terms of cost with City Council, you're going to start raising the cost, which when you do, that's going to put your program out further. So as the president of the Stingrays, would your priority be to get this done as quickly as possible or get the best facility possible, which might take longer? I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that question, though.
Okay.
I think somewhere in between. We really need more space for the community. And providing the best features is not always the driving motivation, right? We need to have a lap swim pool. We need to have something where spectators can see our kids in the water. We need to have the deep end of that pool has to be more than 4 feet for diving, and that's for the blocks. It is required by USA Swim that I believe that is 8 feet for them to dive in on that end. But we have a brand new hotel right next door that would be a phenomenal facility for our teams to come in and utilize. It would be full. I can tell you that right now we can house 250 people at a current swim event for us. And we've been to meets, all of us can attest to that, where there have been thousands, literally thousands of kids entered in these meets. We can't do that here. We don't have the facility. These pools are 8, 10, 12 lanes. They have a secondary pool where they can do warm-ups. We don't have all that. But these kids need to warm up and cool down before events and things like that. So for that purpose, having the 2 pools during those events would be amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Olivia Battaraco, and the 5 of us here today are all swimmers on both the local club swim team, HHST, and the high school swim team. Some of us even lifeguard at the aquatic center, and we have all been swimming for many years and have seen the firsthand that the indoor pool we have now is not enough for the growing community of Lake Havasu. We are a city that thrives on water sports, and we need more space for the current water programs we have and for more programs to begin. Pools, the outdoor pool that we were talking about, would provide more opportunities for educational purposes, swimming lessons, lifeguard training, swim teams, and various competitions. Instead of having to travel everywhere for all the competitions we go to on a monthly basis, we could have more here. That would bring in more money for our hotels and restaurants as families would attend these meets. And we may not be, and obviously this pool is going to happen in the future, and many of us will probably not even be here by the time the new pool is done, but we want this pool built for the kids of the future, and so that the community pools create more connections with families and provide a safe, active place for the kids to be. That's it.
Great. Good job. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Are you guys all just part of the team? Okay, got it. Great job, guys. Next speaker.
Hey guys, I'm Coach Rick. I'm the head coach for the HSST Havasu Stingrays. I spoke last time, and I got pretty teary-eyed up here for the fact that I talked more about the opportunity to run more learn to swim programs for the community. I also would like to try to look into expanding that to adult learn to swim programs. I was out on the channel last Friday night. And what I usually kind of do is go hang out, watch boats and people. And I was sitting there on the corner of the island or the channel, and I was sitting there watching a specific little girl and her dad out in the water, maybe 8 feet from the shore. And I'm sitting there watching them, and I'm watching other things, and I see another man over on the side. All of a sudden, I look over at this family again, and the little girl starts to go under. So now I'm starting to really watch them, and then the guy, the father, starts to go under. So I'm starting to get myself up to go get them. And then the guy that was in the water ran over, grabbed him, pulled him out of the water. It was that quick. I'd never seen something like that before. I was always trying to be the one to either do swim lessons to prevent that, or with adults or kids. It doesn't matter. The number one cause of drowning is freaking out, panicking, trying to find a program that we could just tell parents in a safe environment, get in this water, slowly lower your head. Slowly lower your head until you totally submerge yourself, and then you'll be able to float without panicking. You can do that in any body of water. A lot of people don't understand that, so they go to, and then they drown. I know that we have a big, huge lake out there. Heck, I would like to go do swim lessons in the lake because it's sunny, it's beautiful. But that's not the right place to do it. We need a clean environment. Lakes or pools in the backyard of houses are really not, and I think there's someone else who can speak on that, is not the safest either. Because it's an insurance, it's about insurance, it's about the quality of the water, the temperature of the water. For little kids, you're not going to get them in cold water. So I'm coming, yes, as part of the competitive side of it, absolutely. We could bring a lot of things to this town when it comes to age group championships, regionals, old kids, younger kids, master's programs, all of that we can bring into here. I can talk about that all day, but the ultimate one is how to teach somebody to save their own life. And that's where I'm coming from tonight. I didn't tear up, guys. I'm close, but I didn't. Oh, thank you guys very much. You want to say something, Coach?
Hi, I'm Coach Victoria. I'm his assistant coach. And we've been part of the Havasu Stingrays swim team since my daughter was 7, actually. So we're going on a little over 5 years now. She's 12. She's with the Platinum group, and it's been a phenomenal experience. I didn't grow up having a lot of water safety. I grew up on the Central Coast of California, teaching myself how to surf in one of the most dangerous environments you can possibly learn water sports and water safety, right? not only are we worried about safety, we are thinking about our first responders who use our pool for training, which is part of safety. They are competing for pool time with not only the Stingray swim team and the aquatics programs, the aerobics programs for our snowbirds that come in every year and have to, we jockey for position with pool time with them. We are jockeying for pool time with our high school swim team. This is one of the only high schools I've ever heard of that does not have its own pool. It's very strange to me that in this hot town, a water town, our high school does not have a swimming pool for the high school swim team. So we share our pool time with them. We have a lot of high school swimmers. We also try and bring those high school swimmers over, and we try and push our club swimmers into the high school team so that it's the best of both worlds. There's so many things that could be done in this community with water safety, additional lap swim time, additional water aerobics time, additional water safety programs, additional just open swim time for our kids and the community, and parties that place is full on a Saturday with birthday parties. The revenue that would bring in for additional parties to be being held outside as well as inside, it's endless. And we cannot, I think Jen was the one who was talking about the amount of families that we can fit on deck for a swim meet is very limited. And so we cannot host the events that we could if we had both an outdoor pool and an indoor pool. So just some things to think about.
Great. Any questions? Okay, thank you guys.
Not a question.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
But a comment. I had already written it down that every place that I ever lived, and I've lived in a lot of different states, had a daughter that was always swimming.
Sure.
And I agree with you. I'm so shocked that we do not have a high school with a swimming pool. So after we put this on the agenda, I started thinking, I'm all for this additional pool, believe me. But I started thinking, do we want that pool at the high school, or do we want it at the aquatic center? And I ended up with it at the aquatic center because we have it as an additional pool, and we have the space for it.
Well, and the resources are already there because we have that underwater splash pad. I think I've seen people on that splash pad in the years we've lived here a handful of times. It's hardly used. It's kind of a wasted space. In the reality of it, I mean, I feel like that pool would be so much, more worthwhile.
I appreciate your comments, and you know where I stand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Trisha Bacon. We have been a part of the Havasu Stingrays, I would say 5 years. My older son, Corey, swam, and now my youngest is swimming on the team. I have, both of my children are in the Parks and Recs Pirates program right now. And the biggest thing I hear talking with other parents in the community is like, wow, I tried to get my kids into that and it was full. I hear that all the time about swim lessons. I hear it about the Pirate Swim program. And also with being a part of, I'm on the board with the Havasu Stingray swim team as well. But we would love to grow our program, but we're just limited on the space as far as kids that we can take onto the team. And I don't think it's a question here of if we need a pool. I feel it's definitely, another pool is needed. I know coaching as well, the kids are swimming in a pool that is meant for waves. So as far as competitive swim, they start, they're splashing, they're kicking. The waves in that pool are meant to stay in the pool. So then it ends up slowing them down for swimmers. I know this is probably, I feel, something that won't be seen in some of my kids' time, but it's something that our community needs. And you had asked, is it something that we just want to do now, or is it something, a bigger project? And my answer on that, let's get it done the right way. Why waste the money to just put a Band-Aid on the problem? Let's fix the problem across as far as, and, they mentioned the splash pad that's been broken. That's why people don't get out there and use it. Also, you could put one at Rotary where people could play on the playground and the lake and a splash pad. There's been talks about the water polo team. I get questions from my family in California. Oh, is Corey going to play water polo? No, he's not, because there's no water polo team here. And everybody's like, how do you live in Lake Havasu and not have a water polo team? Why don't we? There's so many sports, as far as aquatic sports, that could be offered to our children, and we are unable right now to offer those to our kids. A big thing I know as far as at the swim, at the aquatic center, is the temperature of the water. The older people like it nice and warm. I know the babies like it warm too, but our swimmers need cooler water for their muscles, and that's been a big issue too. So I feel if we were able to have another pool, you're not going to have those big complaints as far as, the back and forth between the water temperature from the older people that want nice and warm water, and the swimmers that it's bad for their muscles. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you.
All right, so my name is Candace Martin, and I'm super nervous because I wasn't intending to speak tonight, but I think it's extremely important. So I actually grew up here. My family moved here when I was 5 years old. And when I moved here, I really wanted to be a diver. Unfortunately, that wasn't offered. So the next best thing was a swim team. So I actually joined the Havasu Stingrays when I was, I believe, 6. And I was a competitive swimmer, not only all through my adolescence, but also into high school. Fast forward, that eventually led me to my career. So I moved to the University of Arizona, where I got a degree, a bachelor's degree, but I couldn't get away from aquatics because it meant a lot. It got me through a lot when I was growing up. I was very athletic. I needed to keep busy so I didn't get into trouble in a small town. And in Tucson, I actually became the executive director of the YMCAs there for all of the aquatic centers. So I, at one point, managed 8 different pools across southern Arizona and led one of the largest drowning prevention programs in the state. And thankfully, because of the partnerships that we had along the way, Pima County reached 0 childhood drownings in 2019, which had never been done before. In addition to that, we were really big on statistics. Unfortunately, drownings don't affect kids, even though it's the leading cause of death for children under 4. It definitely affects adults too, because many of our seniors, many of our adults have sudden illnesses, and something that Jen brought up was how important it is for us to have a pool where people can stay healthy. And last summer, I had the opportunity to pivot and change my career. And when I came back, a lot of my childhood friends, the overwhelming response that I had, because there wasn't enough programs offered in our city to prevent childhood drownings. I was also shocked that not very many people have pool fences here. So the increase with the lake, how many pools are offered in backyards, it's really startling coming from the program that I had. And throughout this, I started my own business where I go to homes and teach people how to swim. This is not just for kids, this is also for adults. And the amount of people that need this service is really important. I was thankful that in Tucson, I also partnered with school districts to provide teens the opportunity to have a future career. I was very thankful that many of my staff that I trained as lifeguards went on to become firefighters, police officers, and also worked in the healthcare system. And from what you all have seen, and I've experienced just recently, when I had to go to the ER due to a heart issue, was we don't have enough people that are residents here that can serve. So this potentially could be helping solve critical needs in the future of our community. I hear a lot about the swim team and the need for competitive, but it's so far beyond that. The amount of programs that you can have, adaptive aquatics. We led second grade swim. We should be offering swim programs in every single one of our elementary schools so that we can start tackling these things front end and then having that opportunity to grow into a future career. I hope that it's being considered even if it's not at the aquatic center level. I think it was great what Trisha said about let's do it the right way. Our community is growing and the need is even bigger than we know just for kids and also adults and everybody in between. We have a very unique community where we're very popular in the summer, and then we have a senior population. Leading those programs throughout the year, I know firsthand over the last 10 years how you can have programs adapted to your clientele that comes seasonally. Okay. And so that was it.
Thank you. How long were you in the program, the swim team locally?
So I swam all the way. I went from 6 years old, and then as soon as they had the high school swim team, I started with, and I actually swam with Trisha's husband as well.
So you did that all through with Havasu Stingrays?
Yep. Havasu Stingrays and then the Lake Havasu Knights. Yep. And that continued when I was at the U of A. I swam on their master's program at the U. And like I said, it led to me being in my career as an aquatics director for the last 15 years. And in fact, I was just in Prescott auditing their aquatic center because they have a great need for the programs in their town, and they want to make sure that it's done well.
Awesome. Great story. Really cool. Thank you. Any other questions? All righty. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Courtney Stanberry. Wasn't super prepared for this meeting either. I am a longstanding member of this community. I've been here since 2007. Became a nurse here. I have a family now. I have younger kids than these guys, but I'm here to support them. I see a need in our community, and there's such a turnover in our community with younger families. I see a lot of people come out here, great talent that we have that would stay if there were better resources for their kids. Mine are 6 and 2. So I look forward to my kids being able to do these things. I have a lot of ideas for other things. I support this idea and know that we just need a bigger aquatic facility to support our competitive swim team. That splash pad, Trisha's probably laughing. I figured I'd kind of snowball off their competitive swim thing and ask, can we fix that up? Can we shade it? There is such opportunity there that I see. Maybe what I'm asking for is a lower cost. But again, let's do it the right way. And it might be a longer term project, but if we do it the right way, I think in the end, the long-term investment is for a greater good in the community. I think with younger families coming out here, more people would stay, and it just offers more resources, jobs, all kinds of things. So there's a lot of us here that are offering help, ideas, and want to be a part of whatever we can to help things move forward, and love our community and just want to see it grow. A lot of it has been, I feel like, catered to the older population, and that's what was out here. But in my time here, there's a lot of younger families. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Lexi Lawson, I'm a nurse at your hospital, HRNC. My husband also works in public safety. We have younger children.
I give props to the young kids that came here from the high school, which my kids will go to one day. There are 2 basketball courts, I believe. One is an old one that my children use today for youth basketball. We do have 6 other youth schools in this town. Why not turn that into a pool for these children, these growing children, kids that want to become professional swimmers or health in life? Why not? We have the space. We have the money in this town. We have resources. We have taxes. We have hotels being built for our out-of-towners, which we are a town of maybe, 60, 70,000. We do jump up to 100 plus. I can't give you numbers, but I do know that our hotels fill up. Why are their taxes paying for our community to grow? I don't know how much that is, but I would definitely find out for you if that is something we can work on. We have a growing community. Our town is growing. Where are the out-of-towners paying for us to prosper in local businesses and our children and our high schools and our community? Our center with our pool, community pool, outsiders, not to say the least, but they are our family too. Everybody uses that pool. Let's make it to where everybody can use the pool accordingly. We charge accordingly, but why not build another pool where we're not using the space? There's plenty of space. There's plenty of extra money in this town. I do believe once in a while, let's put it where it belongs, and that is to our own community with our children that are going to go up to be in your seats one day, to be part of city council and to hopefully run this town. That is what we're working on. These children showed up today to show that, yes, we need a little bit more in this town. We have growing, our high school is blooming. The soccer field, the baseball field, and the football field is amazing. Why not a swim pool to dedicate to these children that come out every day and show us that they're ready to commit to something? So let's commit to them. We don't need just a pool at the aquatic center, but why not 2? Why not one at our high school that can provide for not just the high school, but our community? And then we have the aquatic center that can provide for outside as well as our community. It is an older population that uses it in the morning and other times. Why can't we build 2 to make it possible for both our youth and our older people to enjoy the community and grow? We are getting so many people from out of state coming here. It's time to address that and use what we can to build a bigger city for this population that is growing for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Miller, and I'm nervous too. You guys heard my son speak last time, Aaron Miller. He is not here because he's actually coaching the Pirates swim thing. I'm going to talk about the high school team. Both of my kids, Aaron has already graduated and went through, and my younger son is coming up, or he was a sophomore next year. It is fantastic for freshmen. It is a non-cut sport as of right now. They have enough room, but there are 8 kids per lane last year. That is very difficult to be practicing swimming with 8 kids per lane. I don't know, you guys probably not know, but Olivia came in second in our division for the 100 backstroke in the state. And with the wide range, since it's non-cut, there's kids that are learning how to swim, but then you have really high level kids that do HSST. It is very difficult to have those wide ranges. The coaches do a great job, but they're limited to time and space. They have to share the time with HSST, which is fantastic, but they're only limited to about 2.5 hours, I think, a day, or 2 hours. The high school is 2 hours, and then you have HSST, which is 2 hours as well. The high school can't cut into like JV or varsity because they only have 2 hours. You have to give these kids enough time to swim to be competitive. The other thing is about a good outdoor pool. Practicing backstroke indoors is a little bit of a disadvantage because once you get outdoors, there's no lanes, there's no lines or anything like that. So that would be helpful for kids who are very competitive that can get that practice in an outdoor pool. So that's all.
All righty. Thank you. Next speaker, anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. Sean Lawless, just local citizen tonight. I can say that I don't have much experience swimming. I'd be classified as a rock, basically, when it comes to swimming. But I do believe that for several factors that a new pool definitely is needed for our community, one of which is sports tourism. That is a huge area of tourism that we currently, as a city, are not really taking advantage of. We have the ability to host limited size tournaments, but I think what really hinders us is our lack of appropriate sports facilities, not only for our own kids, but to bring in outsiders who will come stay in our hotels, spend their money at our restaurants, enjoy the other facilities that this town has to offer. And expanding the aquatic center definitely goes along those lines to help us not only build a bigger sports tourism industry, but really have those resources every day for our kids who love to swim, who love to compete in that genre. I know my kids are taking advantage of the Pirates program at the aquatic center. They're also taking advantage of the open basketball time at the aquatic center tonight, which is another great program. So, but we have outgrown what we have. So, putting the effort to at least investigating the expansion of the aquatic center to meet those needs, I think is a fundamental need for our community that definitely should be approached and taken on. Some of the other factors we deal with is there's an abundance of our kids, especially of the 7th graders, that have limited access or limited information about water safety, or even how to engage in the lake. So having a swim facility that can offer not only basic swim lessons, but education on how to conduct yourself in the water just makes those citizens safer when they go out into our uncontrolled pool, which is Lake Havasu. It's very dangerous to learn how to swim or to competitive swim in open water. There's way more factors that influence the ability for that to be safe, which is hard because you really can't do a swim lesson in the lake. So by having the facilities to teach our children and teach our citizens how to enjoy water, swim in water, and be safe around water is vitally important, not only to this town, but to our community. And if we don't have the ability to offer those classes currently, I think we're doing a disservice to our citizens, because the ultimate end of that is someone injured or losing their life either in their home pool, another body of water, or a lake. And as everyone is well aware, we tend to lose 2 or 3 people every year on our waterways because either their inability to swim or unfamiliar with how to operate on the lake. So I think it's super important that we only look at expanding not only the pool, but look at expanding those programs that can help our citizens safe. And one of the big reasons that we don't see a huge push for that here in town is we're lucky. I was a firefighter paramedic in the city for almost 13 years. In that time frame, we had very, very few drownings in personal pools or around the community. We did have drownings in the lake, but we're just lucky. And the person that spoke before us that said we don't have a lot of pool fencing and a lot of safety features, that is true, especially for some of the older homes. So having the opportunity for the everyday citizen to be able to get into a swim program for their children is vital to keeping those kids safe and helping keep a safe community. So, yeah, thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Andrea Postolovsky.
You can pull it down towards you.
Well,
there you go. He was way taller.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, everything's already been said. So, hi. This is our future swimmer right here. So I just wanted to, as I've talked to some people at the aquatic center, and we've kind of been discussing the space outside and building another pool. Another suggestion that was really good was moving that splash pad, maybe revitalizing it and moving it outside the fence so that, everybody can come, because, everywhere else I've ever been, they've had splash pads all over where families actually really enjoy them. We're really limited in things for our kids to do. And so another thing I wanted to share is just that, somebody had talked about how swimming can be so beneficial to our health. My son, we've lived here for 3 years. My son had never done any competitive sports before we moved here. And once he started at the high school here, I told him that he should pick a sport. And so he chose swim. And, after the high school season ended, he continued on with the Stingrays, and it really changed his life. I mean, watching him change, physically and emotionally, and just his confidence, I just want that for everybody. And then that inspired me to start swimming myself. And that has changed my health completely. I mean, I've only been swimming for like 5 months. I've dropped like 20 pounds. My body feels so much better. And, I think that if we were able to expand to another pool, we could have a master swim program so that, us adults can also get into that, learning how to be better swimmers and have a competitive team. And, I just also wanted to tell you that the city of Anthem has a really wonderful aquatics program and parks program that might be something to look at, because I think that Anthem is, growing a lot, and, we're growing a lot. And, if we can do things we have a lot more families, I think, than there used to be. I've been told that, that this is a place for retirees, but I'm telling you, most of the people I know have moved here from other places and are all family. So I'm just glad that this is being brought up. Thank you.
Thank you. He's all right. He's doing good. I like it. Get him swimming, burn off some of that energy. Next speaker. Now's the time. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Zoe Chambers, and I actually was not planning on speaking either. But a couple of people convinced me and told me about this idea of building another pool. I have been swimming on HSST for about 6 years. I left a couple years ago, and I transferred to high school. And after swimming for that long of a time and seeing that all these other previous coaches before Rick, before Candace, all of these other coaches have also been fighting for an outdoor pool. So this is not just our group. Like, this is needed, I believe. And everyone else here, I'm sure, as well agrees with me. Whether they fought for it or not, they all believed it. I know that for a fact. I am also a lifeguard at the Lake Havasu City Aquatic Center. And after doing swim lessons, guarding, swim team, both of them, it is, just to reiterate what everyone else said, it is so needed to have more time and space. And that's a thing that I've learned over this time as I'm growing up. I'm a senior, and learning to balance time has been very hard for me. We are having practices very late, especially in high school and HSST season. And to come home, especially for school students, keeping that student athlete part is very important. But it's a lot harder to do that when the practices are much later because of all these other programs. You come home, you eat, you brush your teeth, then it's time to do homework, and you hardly have any time for family. And that is, I believe, one of the huge components of life. Another thing to share, the diving boards. We don't have, I believe, safe diving boards. They're blocks, square about shoulder width, length. That's not, any of you have ever looked at some of the other swimming diving boards across even the state? They're all different. They're higher, they're easier to grip on, and versus ours, you could easily slip, fall even close to the gutter, the lane lines. So it's hard even for high school and HSST swimmers when you go to these other meets. The diving boards are higher, so you have to quickly adjust to that during warm-up. And it would be another great thing if we were to have that here with that outdoor pool. We could have those diving boards, we could have those more lanes for more swimmers, and so on and so on. And it just keeps going. I could, if I would have written you guys a whole speech tonight, I could have kept going and going. But just to reiterate what these guys said, we need another pool. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alrighty. I will remind you that there's another item on this agenda, or today's agenda, talking about future needs for the current aquatic center that we have as well. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Alrighty. Seeing nobody else from the public, I will close the public hearing and bring it.
I have a few comments.
Okay. For the public?
No, before we move on from this discussion.
Yeah, no, I'm not moving on. I'm just bringing it back to the board. So I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for further discussion. Go ahead.
Me? Okay.
You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a few questions. But before that, I just wanted to, since we have such a great audience of engaged and active youth in our community, I believe that our teen member has graduated high school, and that means that we have a vacant seat on our board. So if you are a junior or a senior and would like to be up here, talk to Ms. Sherry or go to the website and fill out an application. Okay. I think I've asked this before, but I think it's important to ask again in public. When the fees are paid to the aquatic center for use by the swim club or by the schools, those fees, do they stay to help support the aquatic center, or are they pooled into the general account for the city?
All our fees and charges go into the general fund. That is where we are budgeted out of and highly subsidized from.
Okay, thank you. And I know I've asked similar questions before. I just think it's important because that is something that has to be considered when making these decisions. And I understand and hear everyone's comments. I agree with you about bringing in resources to support the community as a whole. But I just know that it wouldn't directly impact and support the operations of the aquatic center or a future addition of a pool. When was the aquatic center built?
It opened in 1994.
Okay. So I was in like 6th grade or something. Okay. I think it's time. Probably we've grown a bit since then. And there's obviously a huge need to be met to serve our community with a community pool and for all of the other uses that our public has mentioned today and previously. And then I just have a final comment, and it's more for the audience, but the school district has their own board and has their own budgets and can also contribute additional resources to make something like this happen, because as you've all said, it would be able to use it, a new pool as well. So I encourage everyone to also make calls to the public to our local school board during their meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm questioning some of the fees because I'm one of the seniors that uses the aquatic center. And we pay a fee for classes. Now, is all of that going into the general fund also?
Yes, all our fees and charges for the entire Parks and Recreation Department go into the general fund. That's also where we receive our expenditures, comes out of the general fund as well. So, and again, we are a very highly subsidized department, and you could not build that pool out there and say you're going to recoup those dollars. When the Aquatic Center first opened, it was called an enterprise fund, which basically is running it as a business where every dollar you bring in stays there and you spend it back out. It did not last long in an enterprise fund because you do need the city to subsidize that for the department. So that's where those funds go, but then we also receive our expenditures from the general fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
If I may, I just want to make sure everybody's clear on we're talking about the fees that go into the general fund. That the fees that come in from the Parks and Rec is this much, and we spend this much. So the fees, as Mr. Keene said, don't cover the expenses. So it'd be nice if we could say, oh, as an enterprise fund, the users are paying for it, but it doesn't equal out. So, but we are aware of that, and we're glad you guys are here.
Anybody else? Okay, I just have a couple things. First off, I'll start off by saying I love the passion in the room. I mean, this is amazing. This is the community we live in. I love Lake Havasu. I was born and raised here, and this is what we want to see. You know, I've been on the board for a little bit now, and you know, we see these items come to us where nobody shows up, and that's not what we want. This is what we want. The purpose of this board here today is this, and nobody else, especially the city, is not going to know we need or want something unless this happens today. So kudos to everybody that showed up, especially the youth in here. This is how we make change in government. So good job. Just want to talk about a couple things. You know, the water safety and familiarization that people are hitting on, you know, to have that available to us in a more readily accessible manner is huge and it's key. So that's definitely a great point. We do our best now, I think, as a city with what we have, but I definitely agree that can be improved for sure. You know, I don't want to say I disagree with some of the comments, but some of the things that I tend to cite on is I heard a lot, and we heard this with the sports fields as well, as, you know, the comments of, you know, well, we can bring tourism money in and we can, you know, get these fees to come up and, you know, we can make money. And I mean, that's a great thing. I think that's a great idea, but I think if we're going to do something, we need to build it for our community, not for the people that are going to come here and potentially abuse it. So if that happens, great. But I do think that we should build it for you guys in this room. If we're going to build something, let's do it for our community, for our citizens that are here, that are making the change. Let's not necessarily focus on trying to build it to bring in meets. Again, if that happens, that's great, but let's improve what we have today for the group and the people that live here today in the future. So just a touching note on that. Again, you know, we had a big talk for a meeting or two about lowering the fees at the Aquatic Center. And, you know, the director touched on it that, you know, we're already, the city taxpayers and the city government is already subsidizing the Parks and Recs program. You know, I think I don't remember what the percentages were, but, you know, the percentage of fees that actually, you know, pay for it is like Vice Mayor said, is small. So, you know, remember that. So again, when we had those meetings where somebody was showing up being very vocal about lowering the fees, I wish you guys would have been here as well to say, hey, you know, this is maybe a good thing to keep the fees where they're at. Let's see. So the last thing for kind of the audience before I direct my questions to the director is, you know, I'm a huge proponent in putting our youth first. I think, you know, our whole community, we need to do everything we can as a government to take care of our community. I think public safety is primary, but I think, you know, after that is our roads and our taking care of our youth, especially in the island that we live on, literally. You know, we're so distant from other areas. You know, we're talking about, you know, some other big cities. We heard about Anthem today. They're in that metropolitan area where everything is so readily accessible. We don't have that ability. You know, we're here in Lake Havasu where we have to take care of ourselves. But, you know, I think it's important that we put the youth first. Again, as a kid growing up in this town with, you know, nothing to do, we always hear that there's nothing for the kids. I lived it firsthand. So again, I think anything that we can do to promote, you know, youth and building that foundation for these kids is a great thing. Again, I think there's other uses for it for the, you know, the older crowd and you know, the adults and stuff. But I think building that foundation for our kids at a young age, and there's a speaker in here today that was a prime example of what can happen if we have the facilities to do that. So, Director, so I hear that the school district and the high school has a team. Do you know what they pay to utilize the pool? Or, I mean, I know obviously you're not going to know off the top of your head, but is there like a category they fall into?
Yes, the high school does pay the same rate that the Havasu Stingray swim team pays for that time.
Okay. You know, it's disappointing. I think, you know, our school district, they don't do as much as they should. You know, we have beautiful athletic fields out there that we can't even use as some other organizations in this town. You know, so I would really encourage you all to go there as well. Not saying that we're not going to do something or the city's not going to do something, but I would really suggest that you pull the same kind of passion and go to the school board meeting and say, hey, we're one of the only high schools that doesn't have something like this. About the splash pad, we heard a lot of comments about that. Does it not work, or has it been broken, or what's the story and the history with that?
Yeah, no, the splash pad is operational. We did have some slick pieces of concrete when we opened this spring. So it was temporarily closed for that as we were able to get those pieces repaired. So it is operational. It does get used during open swims. Yes, it is hot out there on that concrete. So is it an underutilized piece? At times, for sure.
And that wasn't original to the aquatic center, right?
It
That
was added
later.
after, yes. It was added later.
Do you know, or maybe a community member can answer this, what do the surrounding cities have for aquatic center pools? Come on up.
I've been trying really hard to stay quiet. So one of my roles when I was in Southern Arizona was collaborating with the city of Tucson as well as surrounding areas, which was the town of Sahuarita, including Marana, all the different subgroups of Greater Tucson. I loved what the conversation was about partnerships. I do know firsthand, because I was responsible for creating the budget for my centers, how expensive it is for an aquatic center and just a pool to be managed. It's not, when we were talking about fees, I know the fees do not cover that. Now, even Prescott, which is a smaller town than ours, has multiple pools available to its city. Even the Tucson, which obviously is a much larger population, but just Pima County alone has more than 8 pools. The YMCA has a total of 8 pools. The city of Tucson has, I think, 24 in total. So it's readily accessible. And the amount of programs that come from that and the community service, we have scuba, we have the sheriff's department that are constantly out there. So there's a lot of public needs from our services departments that have benefited from that, not just from the community standpoint. Did that answer your question?
Sure. I guess I was talking maybe a little more locally, like Bullhead, Kingman, things like that. If you knew what kind of public pools they have or how they are.
I can definitely get you that information and I can share it with you guys specifically because I still have, I work very closely with the Arizona State, so I can get specifics and share that.
Thank you.
I believe both of them have 2 facilities.
2 facilities? Okay. Are they similar to what we have or?
No, they are simply lap pools.
They're just what?
Simply lap pools.
Just simply lap pools?
Yeah. I think the one in Bullhead does have a water slide and a more of a play area.
Like exterior outdoor type pools?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that is all the questions and comments I had. I'll just round it out. And again, to tell you guys, we have a couple more items that you're welcome to stay, especially the future needs for the actual aquatic center itself. But at the end of the day, you know, what our board here is today is for this to happen, for us to open up this dialogue and advise the council on kind of the direction that the community wants to go. And again, we have the vice mayor here sitting here and the council watches the meetings. It's not our position to say we want a pool built now, build it next year, right? That's not what we're here to do. But what we are here to do today is to bring what you guys all said to the council, and the council during their budget workshops and their CIP initiatives and things like that is to bring it to their head to say, hey, maybe we need to do something. And again, I think we accomplished that tonight. So do you have anything you can add, Vice Mayor, on kind of how this affects the city council and I mean, where it kind of goes from here? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but
you're going to anyway. No, I'm going to reiterate what you said. Thank you guys for being here. We are listening to what you have to say. And I can tell you over the years, the people that come before us and say, this is what our needs is. For those of you that know me and have known me for a long time, I got on this council because I have kids and I have grandkids in this town, and we need to do stuff for our children. My daughter just sent me pictures. My daughter was on the Stingrays, not here, but where we lived. She played water polo and swim. They're filling her pool with water today. She just got her pool built at her house. So that was pretty awesome. But moving forward, that was just a little personal stuff. But the people that come here, that's what happens. You know, we built Cypress Park because the soccer families came to the city council and said, we need soccer fields. We need this work done. This year in the budget, where we have allocated $500,000, 500,000, based on what this board has come and said, and the people have come and said, we need to work on our ball fields and we need to work on some of these other things that are happening. So we're doing that. Over the last couple months now, we've heard from the Pirates and now the Stingrays, we need another pool. So now we'll start working on that based on the board's recommendation. And I think the consensus from the board is you guys want the council to start looking at this. So we will have to do that. As Mr. Keene said, that all comes through the CIP, which is the capital improvement projects, which is separate from the regular budget. So we will work on that. There's a lot of cooperation that we can do. As the chairman said, the school district, can we get into a partnership? Mr. Keene and I have already had this discussion. Can we get into a partnership with the school district where they pay a portion and we pay a portion? Are there local businesses that want to give money and donate to this? We just spent a whole lot of money on pickleball courts up at Dick Sam Park. That was paid for through donations from the Pickleball Association. So there's money here. One of these ladies said there's lots of money here in town. There is. Now, when it comes to the tourist dollars and stuff, there's ways and things that have to be done and the way the money can be spent and where it's got to go when the tourists are here. I also agree with what the chairman said. We don't really want to build. If we get it for people to come and have tournaments, that's great. But we want to spend our tax dollars on our children to benefit their lives. And the other is just gravy if that's what happens. So I think the board has made it clear to me on the council that this is going to be a priority for them. Working with Mr. Keene, he knows it is. He's already reached out to pool companies. Maybe you guys know a pool company in town that wants to donate some services. There's lots of ways to do this, and it'll be something that we'll be working on as we move forward. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great insight. I think that hopefully goes to some good ears out there that kind of heard those comments. So, alrighty. I'm sorry, public hearing's closed on this, so we will have the next item, though, again, that you can maybe talk about. Any final comments from the board about this item?
Two short comments. Let's not discount Arizona State University that has a robust swimming program. We didn't talk on that, but we can explore that. Another concept is water conservation. The better we have of public swimming facilities, maybe the less motivation to build your own pool in your backyard. So those are maybe some avenues that could be explored. Thank you.
Great points. Thank you, Mr. Russ. Alrighty. Seeing no further discussion on this, we are going to actually move to item 7.4, discussion of the Aquatic Center future needs. Director Keene. Change all up here.
Okay, so this item was requested by a board member at the May Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting as kind of a companion item to a new pool. So what I did to prep for this, and I hope I was in the right direction, we'll soon find out if there's a slightly different direction that was being looked at, is the aquatic facility itself was part of an evaluation in 2016 from an engineering firm that really went through with a fine-tooth comb and looked at just about every aspect of the facility. They identified many items that could be improved. And I'm just going to list some that have been identified and completed or are in the process. First one was to replace the water slide, which we did in 2017. HVAC work, which we are currently doing and should be operational here shortly. Repave the parking lots, which we did just repave the lakeside parking lot, so we're halfway with that one. All LED lighting in the pool area. Some roof work, which we are accomplishing through the HVAC project. We'll relay a roof on there. Additional birthday party areas, which we did add, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, some different areas on the upper deck to hold birthday parties. Replace the wave machine controls. We have that in the budget for fiscal year 23 and 24. Replace a boiler that heats the water, both domestic and for the pool area, which was completed. A new electrical generator in case of any power outages throughout the city. The entire community center and aquatics area act as an emergency shelter. So a new generator was needed to supply power for that purpose. replace all the slot drains, and replace the ozone system. The ozone system is a way of disinfecting the water in addition to the chlorine that we use. That system was originally put in, it had failed, and so we were just simply operating on traditional pool chemicals for quite a number of years, but we did replace that system, I want to say maybe 4 years ago or so. There are a few items that in that evaluation that have not been yet completed, but are definitely part of the conversations that we have. Revamping locker rooms, and that would include a better family-style locker room. Right now, our family locker room is really kind of a changing stations. It's not a full-blown locker room where you would have, maybe individual showers or individual restrooms in that area for each stall. The lobby area, and then the entrance way, a true entrance driveway to get to the lakeside parking lot, which is actually the front of the building, even though most people know the highway side of the building to be the front of the building, because that's where you drive into. Unfortunately, the front of the building really is supposed to be on the lakeside. So revamping the way you get into the parking lots themselves. So there's a few of the items that, again, we are in conversation with, but yet have not yet been completed. So that's kind of the angle or attempt that I took at what we were looking for as far as some of the future needs and the assessment that was done on the facility. But we'll see if I hit that one or if we're going in a different direction.
Great, thank you. No, I was the one that asked to add this. My thought was I didn't want to just narrow down our discussion when we had that and I was on the Zoom call. My thought was I didn't just want to narrow the discussion to a new pool. I wanted to open it up and make the discussion item to where we could talk about not only the potential new pool, but also how we can make our pool better, because I did hear a lot of concerns in this room about our current pool. So that was my thought. So again, you got it. So this is a public hearing. So I will open it up to the public that would like to address the board on this item 7.4. Come on up.
Again, I'm Jennifer Blair, president of the current Havasu Stingray swim team. Mom, swimmer, I do lap swim at the pool. There are some things that really do need to be addressed about safety, but also he mentioned that the air conditioning system is going in. One thing that we had to do this year is we actually had to cancel our swim meet that we had planned in July because the air conditioner hadn't been installed yet. We plan on doing an intramural meet now, but we are under the understanding that the air conditioning system will not be up and operational until August now, which defeats the whole purpose of air conditioning for the most of the summer, right? So July, the last weeks in July are typically our hottest weeks in the 120s. And that's actually when we planned on having our swim meet, which we've had to cancel. It won't. That's just not going to work. We have worked out some things with the aquatic center that they'll open up the pool, other end of the pool and things like that for some people, but we can't have all of the 250 people in the water behind the bulkhead. So that it's just, we're not planning on that working very well. Some of the things that are safety concerns, the starting blocks. Zoe had mentioned the diving boards. They're starting blocks for the swimmers. They're slick. They are not USA Swimming sanctioned, regulatory, and become a safety issue. With that high wall, they actually look much higher than they are. I believe they're regulation height. However, when we have people coming in from out of town to have a swim meet with us, it scares them. So that's one of the things. Also on the wave pool side, when our kids are doing flip turns, the grates are there. And if they do their flip turn too deeply, they can put their foot in a hole in the grates. We haven't had any injuries yet, but again, there's luck on our side, right? But those are not meant to be a place for people to be at. Normally, when the aquatics facility has the wave pool going, there's a line across. You know, kids can't go across that because for safety concerns, right? But our kids do flip turns on those walls every single day, and I've put my foot in the hole in the wall because it's not that far down. It's probably 3-4 feet down. I don't have the exact measurement, but that is, you know, a safety concern with this pool. Other things are those high walls. Even the lifeguards sitting right there can't necessarily see that first lane, that corner area of the pool. We've been lucky enough to not have an incident, but, you know, matter of time, right? That someone kind of gets stuck right there where they can't see them, and the lifeguard on the other side is not looking in that direction at that time. Those kinds of things happen in pools. I was a lifeguard in 1996 at a pool in California where on the 4th of July we had a full pool and an 8-year-old drowned in front of everybody. No one saw her. And that kind of thing can happen. So we want to make sure that we address all these concerns that are, you know, maybe having an extra lifeguard on the other side, maybe having an extra lifeguard in the water, things like that, that really protect our children. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the board for the speaker? Go ahead.
So that does bring up a question. It's the starting blocks mainly that we've heard so much about. This is not the first time that we've heard that I understand our high walls because of our wave pool, but the starting blocks are a problem. And has that been addressed to you?
Yes, certainly, and we actually did some work on those blocks a couple of years ago. That end of the pool there, where those it's kind of graduated step area, that needs to be there in order to produce the waves. So that whole space is void behind it. It is built for that purpose. So the starting blocks were really kind of an afterthought on there. So there's not a great way to make those starting blocks be like a normal competitive pool. So this is the best solution that we have for the facility that we currently have.
Thank you.
Righty. Anybody else? Any other speakers?
Sorry. Again, my name's Courtney Stanberry. So with 2 little kids in the community, it's really hot and the heat starts early in the morning, and the hours of the aquatic center are not ideal when kids wake up early in the morning and the splash pads aren't shaded. The one out at the mall doesn't turn on until 10. The parks are hot. The shade at the parks is less than ideal. So looking to some body of water to go to, opening up the hours, I don't know if that's possible. Talking about all these programs that we offer at the aquatic center, I don't know if that's why the open swim is so narrow, but I think I might be wrong. It starts when school ends, and it's on like Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 4. So it's a narrow window even to make money. I think we could charge more if it was a facility that drew you in. That splash pad out there could be updated a lot. I don't know how many of you have little kids or grandkids and have gone to splash pads in other cities. A lot of you have maybe heard about the new splash pad that was opened in Bullhead. That is really nice. I don't know what went into, because I just found out about it. I don't know what went into funding for that. I would be willing to look into that so that we can try to do something like that for our community, or if that would help funding for updating what we already have at the aquatic center. But a lot of that equipment, I haven't been there this year, but it's not worth going out to. So if we could put new things out there, shade it. There's a splash pad in Tempe called the Cloud. It's this big mushroom. It thunders, lightnings. There's all kinds of things to play on underneath it. So updating the facility, we could charge more, and it's worth coming to. That outdoor area is very underutilized because there's nothing out there. So maybe coming together and figuring out how we can fix that up so that it's worth using and going out there for, I think would be worth it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Director King, do you have any insight on the hours of the facility and why they are the way they are?
Certainly. Open swim during the summertime when the kids are out of school. We run open swim Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 to 4. During the winter months, it is on Saturdays from 12 to 4 as well. The reason is, yes, the scheduling of how many activities go on, whether they're exercise classes, swim teams. Let's see, I have a whole list of activities that go on. Lap swim, exercise, swim teams, junior guard, swim lessons, scuba, Special Olympics, fire police department training, open swim, on and on and on. So those scheduling times definitely do conflict. We get a lot of conflict in just the lap swim and exercise classes of the timing of those each day. And then you throw in all the different programs on top of that. Does make for an interesting puzzle to try to put together. But that's why the hours are where they're at.
What time does the aquatic center open?
5 a.m.
5 a.m.? Okay. Thank you. Next speaker. Anybody else?
Just to kind of reiterate what these last two
Can you
ladies
say your name
said.
for the record one more time?
Oh, sorry. Zoe Chambers.
Thank you.
Just to kind of reiterate what these last two ladies kind of said. When it comes to the bulkhead and the other sides of the pool, it is very, very dangerous, actually. I've hit my heel in the gutter 2 times in my last just 3 years of swimming, probably maybe another once or twice before that. And we are very specific, and technique is a huge thing. So focusing on that, like, you just have already thinking about that. And when you're trying to incorporate in that swimming, thinking, okay, make sure like my feet don't hit that bulkhead. That's just another thing for us to think about. So even if you are thinking about it, and I've already thought about it several times because I've hit my heel very badly, it's still bound to happen. And as far as the splash pad goes, now that I'm out there lifeguarding as well, I'm not seeing too many kids use that splash pad either. I've seen lots and lots of kids go out there when I first moved here about 8 years ago. And now that number's kind of decreased, I've seen slowly. I don't know to how many, but lifeguarding there now, I hardly see any kids go out there. Some just go out there to go play catch or so on, but not the splash pad. That's about it. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you. Any other speakers?
This Jennifer Blair again. So I looked up the numbers on the pools up in Kingman and Bullhead. Bullhead City has an 8-lane Olympic-sized pool. That's 50 meters. We have a 25-meter pool, so it's twice the length. They can open that up to lap swimming in the other direction as well. So it's 25 yards across in the other direction. That is actually a standard. When I went to UC Santa Cruz and swam and dove with them, they have a 50-meter pool in one direction, 25 yards across the other way. It opens it up to be utilized by different services throughout the day. So that, I believe that was the proposal that you received from Mike earlier, is the pool that was pictured is actually a 50-meter by 25-yard. So it can be utilized by multiple services, multiple times throughout the day, opening up plenty of pool time for all the things that we're all here for, right? We did water polo in that type of pool. We did diving, synchronized swimming, lap swimming, and then exercise classes just for anybody else. So, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Oh, Kingman. Kingman has two public pools, and they're both Olympic size, I believe.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Alrighty. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Questions or comments from the board?
I just have a question. Listening to all of this, my brain is buzzing. When you go to the aquatic center, which I'll admit I haven't gone, but do you have to sign like a liability waiver or a safety waiver or anything? Because hearing about kind of all these like unsafe conditions that everybody's talking about, my question is like, is this even safe for them to be practicing and everything? Or
I will start with saying I do not believe our facility is unsafe. By any means. The facility is guarded. Are there some areas where people can get hurt in an aquatic environment? Most definitely. That happens in any swimming pool. Gutter systems are completely different in every pool you go to. That's why part of meet warm up is figuring out how are you going to work around this. During meet warm ups, you practice starts. And again, as it was said, starting blocks are very different in each facility. So there is a somewhat United States Swimming puts out a standard of heights, but different companies make different styles. So all of that is a little bit different. So I don't want to go out there and anyone to think our facility is unsafe. It is a very safe facility. But there's an assumed risk in recreation when you pay to come and play.
No, thank you. And I want to clarify too, I do not think the pool is unsafe. You guys do great work, Dr. Keene. Just something that kind of came up and I was curious about.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I guess my only thing would be obviously some of the questions that got brought up with like the grates and the starting blocks. I mean, I would imagine there's got to be, some little things you can do in-house to maybe better them, whether, we'd heard about them being slick. Obviously, I'm sure we're not going to be able to do much about the height, but maybe them being slick, I'm sure there's something that you can do. Grates, again, I mean, the pool was designed for a certain way. I'm sure it's going to be limited, but I guess at the end of the day, I think bringing the attention to you, I'm sure you're very familiar with your facility, but bringing the attention to you to potentially make some improvements. Again, I think what's important is let's take care of what we have. Again, I think a grand idea of a, $4 or $5 million pool down the line would be a great thing, but what can we do right now to make it a little better? And obviously some of the things we heard tonight would be good. Again, the same thing got brought up when we were talking about the sports fields is, again, a big sports park would be great with basketball field or basketball courts. It's been a long night. Baseball fields, football fields, soccer fields, things like that. That would be great down the line, but what can we do to make what we have better right now? So again, I think that's what was, fundamental about what we're talking about with this item is let's make a little bit of improvements that we can. So any other questions or comments for the board? Alrighty. Okay. We will move on to the beginning again to item 7.1, discussion update of the downtown Catalyst site. Director King.
Thank you. So we did receive our next set of documents from Dig Studio. I'm going to call them our 99% completion documents because there are still some review work to be done, both by our engineering department and then our developmental services department on those. So we received those late last week. Just a few tidbits of some changes that are incorporated into those 99, again, what I'm going to call a 99% document. If you say that to anybody in the engineering world, it doesn't exist. It goes from 90% to 100. But I'm going to use it 99 because they're not. I don't want people to think that they're 100% complete. We're done. We're ready to go. There's a power panel there put in kind of by the arc of the circle, kind of by where the they had recommended a stage. They're going to move that power panel onto the retaining wall that is to be built right there. It didn't really make as much sense to be out kind of by itself in the middle. So that power panel is being moved over to the retaining wall. Additional grading, especially on the northern end, so the area that backs to the medical facility, those changes will allow for even more usable space in that area where the slope isn't as great. It'll be much flatter. So we worked with our engineering group on that for drainage purposes. That was one of the big reasons why the slope had to continue. But we found some other ways that we can get some drainage in there and be able to increase to even more usable space. One of the comments that we've definitely heard throughout the process. And then the last piece is we are still waiting to hear from National Park Service on the grant funding. Again, it has been approved by Arizona State Parks and Trails, but we just need to hear that from National Park Service that is good to go, and that we're looking at $1 million in funding through that grant. So where do we go from here is usually the next question. So again, those 99% documents will be reviewed, get them to the 100%. At that point, we'll be ready to go out to bid. We'll put them out to bid for, traditionally it's 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks out on the street, so to speak, receive those bids, evaluate them, and then make a recommendation to council for approval of a company to build the park. And then from there, it's really working with the contractor at that point of exactly start dates. I am recommending, as we're moving into, by the time we finish the review, we get it out to bid, to be able to start construction. It really gets into the start of our event season, which I do not believe is the right time to do this project. So my recommendation will be right after Desert Storm next year or next spring to start the construction of that project, which actually timing wise isn't that far off. So we're talking maybe a month or two working with the contractor to start construction. That completes my update.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board before we open the public hearing?
What's the slope from top to bottom? Do we have a footage, guesstimate?
I don't off the top of my head. I do not remember what the overall slope of that current parcel is.
But it will be on a grade. It won't be completely flat.
Correct. The area that they're working on, especially in the north, they're trying to keep it to between 1% and 2% grade.
Anything else from the board? Okay, this is a public hearing, so I will open it up to the members of the public to address the board on item 7.1. Anybody that'd like to speak on this item? All righty. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for questions or comments. I guess my question would be just what's the take from the city council at this point? Are we still waiting for a direction from council, or how's that working?
The direction we received from council was to complete the documents 100% as recommended by the board, and we'll send it out to bid at that level, and we'll see what the bids come back at, and then they'll make a decision of whether or not they want to fully fund that project at that time.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Keene hit the nail on the head. I took forward to the council your recommendations from this board to do the 100% build out plans, not necessarily the funding. There is some word out there because of the 100% plans, the developer, his estimate is that it would cost roughly $800,000 to $900,000 more than what we had planned through our budget. None of that has been approved although that's the word, it has not, no money has been approved. We've taken your recommendations that they do the plans at 100%. And then we'll see, you guys will have the opportunity to see the plans. And if you see some things that you think should be cut out to try to bring the budget down, once we get that RFP back that Mr. King was talking about, the bids for the project, and then we can see what it actually comes in at. And then if we have to start cutting some things back there, we'll listen to your recommendations and move forward. So right now, we're just waiting for those plans to come in, for you all to see them, for us to have a look at them. Then it'll go to the council to put it out for the RFP, and then we'll see what happens when it comes in and see where we're going to go from there. So your input is still needed. We appreciate all you guys, the work you've done on this.
Great. Thank you. Great insight. Alrighty. Any further questions or comments from the board? Alrighty. We will move on to item 7.2, discussion sports fields and courts, current and future needs. Director King.
Thank you. So just a couple updates on this. This is just kind of an ongoing item on our list. I am continuing to have meetings with different user groups. I met with the soccer group last week. Met with another group this morning. So those meetings are still continuing to discuss the needs out there. City Council did tentatively approve the fiscal year 23-24 budget, and will vote tomorrow night to adopt the final budget, which, as Vice Mayor Lane did say, does include a $500,000 line item for park improvements, and that is where some of the money would come from for some field upgrades or things of that nature. I talked a little bit last month about a company specializing in field renovations. The company is Dura Edge. If we took their estimates, they did look over all the fields. Kind of the big thing that they're looking at doing is laser leveling at minimum a 2-inch infield mix, new base anchors, home plate, pitcher mound, lip repair, which as you transition from the red to the grass, there tends to become a huge lip. So they would rip out an area of that turf and then come back in and place that so it's more smooth and level there. Each field is different based on its current condition. So we go from anywhere from $15,000 to a field all the way up to one of them is $63,000 for a field. Their estimates for all of the fields that we have, as far as baseball and softball, would come in right around $250,000. Much like anything that you would do at your home, if you're spending that kind of money, you're going to get a second opinion as well. So we're in the current process of going out and looking for another company that will come in and kind of give us that same level of thoroughness to go through and evaluate the fields themselves. And then with that, we do have to follow our procurement code. So we would then send out an RFP, request for proposal, and be able to write that based off of the specs that these companies give us regarding what are the needs out there, what's their evaluation. So then we could write the specs for a proposal, and they would send back the bids, open them, and then we would be able to look to improve those are the baseball and softball fields on that piece. A couple more comments. We are working on quotes currently for new bleachers at the Island Ball Field. And when we met with soccer, we will be overseeding the upper field this year at Cypress. So I know there's been some talk about the bare spots there where the goalies stand. We also talked with them regarding the trying to help them to not have those bare spots by shifting around a little bit, even if it's 10 feet one way or 10 feet another during practice. Obviously, games have to be in the dimensions, but when you're practicing shooting at that goal, you can move the goal around a little bit more. It just helps the wear and tear in one particular spot. So some conversation with them. So during that time of overseeding will be this fall. We'll move some of the soccer down to Rotary Park, and they'll practice there as well, just to be able to kind of shift around and close that upper field. That concludes my update.
Great. Thank you. Any questions from the board before we open it to the public? Alrighty. This is a public hearing. Anybody that would like to address the board on item 7.2? Alrighty. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Sure.
Thank you. It's great to hear the progress and the involvement of the some of our sports clubs, leagues. So I'm wondering, after you get all of this information collected, do you have a priority list, or how, if not, how do you plan on determining which improvements make the cut this go around?
With the help of you guys, we will be bringing some of that information back.
I was hoping you would say that.
Especially as those dollars, as we get to spending them, and the pot keeps getting smaller and smaller, because obviously we're going to be able to spend that plus. So then we'll come back to the board with some priorities of what we're looking at. And again, those recommendations, not only from the companies, but talking with the different user groups.
Any other questions or comments? My comment would be thank you to you for spearheading this. I mean, again, we saw this room filled on several occasions with concerns about our current sports fields. And like we've discussed, this board has discussed of let's take care of what we have. So again, thank you to you, to the city manager, and to the council for making this happen. Again, $500,000 extra to maintain and bring our current fields and such up to courts and things up to standards is huge. That's a great step in the right direction for sure. So definitely I appreciate the hard work. Again, as a user of these fields, as a parent of kids that use these fields, thank you truly to you and the city manager for spearheading it. And again, to the council for making it happen tentatively. So any other questions or comments? All righty. That will conclude our public hearings. We will move on to future discussion items. Any member would like to bring an item for future discussion? Go ahead.
Oh, well, it's not for future discussion. I just have something I want to bring up before you adjourn.
Okay. Alrighty, move on to if you want to talk about it now, or do you want me to do future meetings first?
I'll go now. That's fine.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
No,
we love hearing from you, so.
And you said it with a almost straight face. I just wanted to say thank you to our outgoing board members. On behalf of the mayor and the council, great work. Really, truly appreciate what all of you guys do. I've only been on this board now for 4 months. And just the progress that we're making, and the work that's coming out of this board is pretty awesome. We're hearing from the Aquatic Center. You guys are telling me what it is that you want. We're hearing about the sports fields. We're hearing about all kinds of things. And I had the opportunity to interview some new prospective board members. It'll go before council tomorrow. But our current board members that are leaving will definitely be missed. But we do appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to volunteer to put your face and your name out there in the public realm, which isn't always so easy. So thank you so much for all that you guys have done. And we look forward to the future. So thank you.
Go ahead.
I'd just like to thank everybody. I know my 1 year was very short. Due to time commitments and things, I am going to take a step back, but maybe you'll see me in the audience. Maybe you'll see me back on the board one day. I appreciate you guys all very much. You guys do great work. So thank you so much for everything you do. And thanks for letting me be part of it.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys for sure. Like we said at the beginning, and like the vice mayor said, it can be a thankless job. So thank you. And we hope to see you in the audience for sure. Alrighty, we'll move on to future meetings.
Future meetings will be July 24th and August 28th.
All righty. Anything else for the good of the order? Sure you don't want to talk for 6 more minutes? All righty, I'll adjourn this meeting. Have a good night, everybody.